Hello, everyone. This is Gail Ecker, Director of Equine Guelph, and I'm very pleased to welcome Dr. Mike Pownall for a discussion today. So we've talked a little bit about assessing things right now. Let's be a little bit more optimistic. We know that there's some lessening of some of the restrictions. So how does someone start today to position themselves now to look at other revenue streams, to market themselves so that they've got a jump ahead of everybody else? Like, what things should they be looking at now to get themselves in a very strong position?
Yeah, that's a great question, I'm with you. I see there's a lot of opportunities. There's a crisis going on. Most of the best businesses in the last 50 years were all developed in recessions or economic downturns. This is actually a good time to start a business. Change it's essential in our society and our business cycles. But I really think as we're opening up, we need to understand. So I'm going to repeat myself a little bit. Understand what it costs us. Understand what we need to price to make a living on. But I think we get very complacent, all of us in this equine industry in Ontario, in terms of who our customers are. It's always the same old, same old. And I think, Toronto is one of the biggest cities in North America. It's one of the most wealthy cities in the world. It has the highest, what is it? I think it's the highest rate of ethnic diversity. I mean, it's a melting pot. And I think there are so many opportunities to start marketing your practice. I mean, you look at the 905 belt of Toronto and the same kind of thing, the suburbs of Ottawa or any city in Ontario is, there are people who are looking for alternatives right now. So this is, we're talking towards the end of May 2020. And so what we know now is none of us are going to be traveling anytime soon, far. So any ideas of going on Caribbean vacations, probably not going to happen for about a year, maybe less, who knows. We're not eating out at restaurants so much anymore. We're not going to concerts or to sporting events. So people that do have jobs and people that are, the economy's been good to them, they're going to be looking around going, now what do? I can't do what we usually like to do. So what opportunities are there? So how can we start thinking of riding lessons in the same breath or the same discussion as tennis lessons or hockey camp or whatever type of camp? And, when you look at the 905, the suburbs are much closer to where our riding schools are than downtown Toronto or downtown Mississauga. So let's start looking at, well, who's closest to us? How can we start marketing to them? How can we start showing that horses is a great pastime? It teaches young people responsibility. It's safe. It's a great relationship. The bond that people develop between horses, I mean, it lasts forever, which translates into the next audience is that we're always focused on kids for riding lessons or young adults. But what about, mature people that have been out of the sport for a long time? How do we bring on that, that middle-aged professional woman who hasn't ridden a horse since she was 19 years old? And probably hasn't thought about horses in about 20, 30 years, but loves the idea of horses. It brings back great memories. And so why can't we just start having more adult camps? What else can we do? I mean, people want experiences. I mean, we start talking about this experiential economy is that that's why people like to travel so much, why so many young people are traveling, because they want the experiences. And that's why people spend so much money going to concerts. We look at concert tickets downtown, you're like, how could anybody afford to go to those? But people want the experience. They want to be the people that saw U2 or the Rolling Stones. So, people want experience. And so why can't you have experiences on your farm? Why can't you have, people that come by that can do basic horsemanship, grooming horses? I guarantee you there's probably people that would pay to be able to come out and spend 2 hours at a barn just to hang out with horses and just brush them and pick their feet, maybe lead them around to exercise them, because where else are they going to do that? And it's kind of a neat thing to be able to do and to talk to your friends like, oh yeah, every Sunday I go to this farm and I hang out with horses and it's so relaxing. It really centers me before I go back to work on Monday. And if you're paying that much money to go see concerts or going out to dinner once a week and they're not doing that anymore, well, we have a solution for them. So I think there are so many opportunities, and we just got to look at, what else can we do? We're in the country. Can we have, bonfires at night? What else can we do around horses? I mean, people, a lot of the vineyards in Niagara and Prince Edward County, they have people that come out there to help them during harvest time, and these people pay for the experience. It's a free labor for the wineries, and they're getting paid for it. So it's win-win for everybody. The client loved the experience. The wineries making some money. We could do similar things with this horse industry.
Some great ideas there, and again, getting out of the box, so to speak, to think about things.
And I get it. It's hard because this is I see this time and time again. Every small business owner, it's not just horses, but I think it gets magnified of horses, is that we're working so hard that we don't have time to work on our business. We're just taking care of what's in front of us. What emergency is happening now? What do I got to do today? Instead of stepping back and go, all right, where am I going with this? What do I need to do? What opportunities? Okay, what neighborhood is near me? What schools are near me? What kind of programs can we put on here, even with social distancing for the near future, that can attract people in the short term, but also if you can convert people that come to groom the horse, or you do bonfires or what have you, that maybe they're going to be your next riding lessons. So you're building this clientele and you're building this reputation, and that's going to help your business. So I think if we can spend a little bit of time thinking about our businesses and what we need to do, we're all going to do better. But that's what I hope.
Yeah, there's a phrase that I'm reminded of. Are you working in the business or on the business?
100%.
And as owners, we have to work on the business, not just to be in there mucking out stalls.
When I was doing my MBA at Ivy, one of our professors, and I remember the moment. It's one of those, like, oh, what wisdom. And he was talking about, from if you're the CEO of the Royal Bank of Canada to you own a farm, or you're a veterinarian, or you're a farrier, or what have you. But if you're developing a business, and I think you need to spend, and his thought is, you've got to spend 10% of your time just thinking about your business, not time when you're busy doing other things. But you know what? I'm just going to stop and think. Maybe I'm driving somewhere. I'm not going to turn on the radio. I'm not going to turn on a podcast. I'm just going to think about my business. And it's amazing when you have the time to just concentrate and just think about what you're doing, the ideas that come out. So I think we often think as, well, I don't have time to think about my business. Well, I don't think you don't have the time not to think about your business if you want to be successful.
The cost is too high on that one.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I get it for sure.
Okay. We ready to talk about ongoing strategies and sort of looking ahead?
Yeah, and I think that's part of what we've been talking about is, really those opportunities. So any business is the foundation, again, of any size business, whether you're global conglomerate to a small family farm, is to identify what customers value. That's the foundation. There's a great business philosopher from the last decade, Peter Drucker, and he used to say that the number one job of a business is to make a customer, which sounds kind of opaque, but what it means really is that you create a service that people value. So I think this is where we got to start listening to people more, talking to our customers, talking to our existing customers, like, hey, what else do you do when you're not here at the barn? What do your friends like to do? Would your friends and you like to come up here, or maybe we can make some kind of evening? Do you think your friends would be interested in some kind of horse activity or rural activity? So I think it's understanding and asking questions and listening to people. And the easiest ones to listen to and to talk to are your existing clients or the people that are coming for lessons already. The other one is, as I said, is you have your business plan, you have your cash flow projections, is to monitor it all the time. The other aspect of it too is, how are you promoting your services? We depend a lot on word of mouth. And, I know we have worked with a couple of our clients because, we're very aggressive in marketing to get our word out. And we have worked with some of our clients that own stables and to help them, with their webpage or with just how to market to their community. And if you really focus on marketing, the dividends, it pays off so quickly, whether it's having a good website. And there's no excuse not to have a good website. There are so many, I'm not going to say free, but off the shelf services, Squarespace or Wix, two of them, for example, that anybody with minimal computer knowledge can make a really nice website for yourself. That's modern, dynamic, that goes onto mobile phones. But there's still some pretty good old school stuff too, in the local newspapers in the community. Facebook, those ads we see on Facebook. One of the advantages of advertising during a recession is that nobody else is advertising. So what Facebook and Google do is they have a bit of an auction system. So if you have keywords like horseback riding or key phrases, if there's a lot of competition for that phrase, the price goes up for an ad. Well, if nobody else is advertising, you can get a lot of exposure for half the price you could have 5 months ago. And so really good, forward-thinking businesses, when time gets tough, they don't cut their marketing budgets. They often stay the same, or they'll actually increase them, because they know the word will get out even more. And when things come back to a more normal level again, those businesses that have been proactive in advertising actually see a big increase in their businesses. And this is seen time and time again in different countries, different industries. It's just a great rule of thumb. So marketing, that's something that we got to be doing and thinking about. And then, it's the just reviewing what you're doing and making sure it's working. Like if you put your plan together and you had this forecast that by the end of August, before school, this is what I should have in revenue. This is the kind of lessons activity we should be having every month. And if you're not reaching that, you got to adjust. You've also, if things are going well, you're like, hey, what's working? Can we do more of that? One of my biggest worries, and you and I have talked about this before, is that this is sort of our first, what's happening with school horses in Ontario right now. They're not able to have lessons, and a lot of horses are going without hay and grain, and For the Herd is doing a great job of getting some resources to people. I worry about what's going to happen if it's October, November, when stables have not done the business they needed to have that cash flow to carry themselves over the winter. Then what? And so I'm worried that if we don't start thinking now, May, June, of where our business is going to be in October, November, some of us might be in a really uncomfortable position. Trying to be proactive now, I think, is what we need to be doing.
Right, for sure. So a couple of things I just want to circle back on.
Sure.
Talked about the marketing, and there's a lot of stables. You mentioned a very good point about take a good look at your website right now, see what you can do without a lot of investment to upgrade it, make yourself stand out from everybody. But staying in touch with your clients through something as simple as Facebook. Reaching out to them, providing them with interesting things to keep connected so they don't forget about you in September is a really good technique.
You absolutely. You could be sending out an email every 2 weeks to all of your clients, all of your lesson, all your students, saying, here's what's happening, here's what's going on, here's our goal, let's start, setting up some stuff for later. Keep what you're doing fresh in their mind. So things happen quickly in this province. We had about a week's notice as veterinarians and as stable owners that things were going to open up again. Well, we know it's opening up, and more and more restrictions will be lifted. So let's start planning towards that. But I agree with you. I think that's a great point of just communicate. You can get MailChimp or any of those online email services that are it's a nominal price, if not free, to send out a newsletter once a month just to keep people up to date. And it could just be as simple as an email. And then the other thing I would do too is, let's not forget about that one-on-one communication. If you've got your top, that 80-20 rule, 20% of your clients give you 80% of your business. Well, call up your loyal, your long-standing clients, the ones that have been your biggest fans, and say to them, just touching base, how are you? Is there anything that I should know what's going on? When we start up again, will you be coming back? Be honest. It's been a tough season. It's really been tough. Do you have any idea of any friends that, would maybe want to start taking some lessons? Have a referral program. If someone refers friends, give them a free lesson, for the person that referred it. you use those people's networks to build up your own.
And I've also seen some of the riding stables are sending out notices for your riding horse. So Charlie has been your lesson horse. Charlie's doing well. We're looking forward for you coming back to see Charlie.
Yeah.
Because that just pulls at the heartstrings. And some people, like, they have a great connection and just want to get back there.
100%. This is our business, in horses, it's based on emotion. Why else would we spend so much time and going to the show ring and all we get out of it is a ribbon? But boy, we had a great time getting there.
Right.
And if somebody looked at this rationally, like, why are you doing this? Like, this is a crazy business. But it is, horses just pull out our heartstrings so much, and that's why we're all doing what we're doing. So the more you can get other people infected with it, the better for our business.
Right, for sure. Okay, and another thing I wanted to circle back is talking about your staff, because they are the backbone. You can't do your business without your staff. So a couple of things is, let's take a look at the biosecurity first for the staff, but then I also want to touch base with, don't drop your biosecurity for your horses either in this opening up and transition. Yeah. So let's talk about training the staff and making sure they feel comfortable first.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're fortunate that we have guidelines given to us of what the stable should be, how we should operate, and we should go by those. As a society, all of us have to do our part to abide by the recommended rules by the health officials. We don't need an excuse or a reason for our economy to shut down again. If we all do our part, we should be okay, and more will open up. But yeah, you've got to be firm and just say, to your staff, spend the time to train it. This is how I want you to social distance. This is how the schedule is working. We're not letting, we have appointments for people to come. This is how lessons are going to work. And I think as the manager or the owner of the farm is, it's not enough just to say it and hope everybody does it, but you got to follow up, and you catch people, maybe slacking off or, not taking it seriously. You've got to have a conversation with them. Because the other factor too, from the consumer's point of view, even though we look in the States right now, and a lot of restaurants are opening up and events, a lot faster than they are in Canada, people are still not going because people are concerned about their health. So how do you balance that with, okay, my stable's opening up, people are going to still be concerned about their health. So you've got to demonstrate to your clients that you have, and to your future potential clients, how seriously you're taking this. If you've got somebody that only is going out just to get groceries, and now, we see people. I just did some grocery shopping this morning, and people are wary, and they're taking a wide berth around other people, and they show up at your barn and nobody's wearing masks and nobody's practicing social distancing. They're going to give a second thought, like, I don't know if I feel safe here. Maybe I'm going to push off doing lessons for another month, and we'll see what happens. So 100%, your staff is critical. We're trying to cut costs. And so the first thing a lot of us do is, well, I'll get rid of some people. And, if you've got a good staff that knows your horses, knows your clients, knows your systems, and, instead of saying, you know what, I got to let go of you, maybe if you've got a couple of stall markers, it's like, hey, can we do reduced hours? Can we do some job sharing? I think most people will get that, because everybody realizes this. It's nice to have a job. If you have a job, great. So I think there's some flexibility you can have with people just to make sure everybody's employed, because once it comes back, you don't want to have lost some of these great employees you had, because then you got to train somebody new and go through the whole process of trying to hire somebody. We don't have time for that. Let's focus on things that really can be productive, as opposed to, well, I didn't really take care of my staff, so now I got to replace them all again. That's a bigger hill that you're going to have to climb to get back to being successful.
Right. Okay. And then let's take a look at the horses, because part of being a professional in this business is protecting your assets, and your horses are one of your best assets for a riding school. So with horses moving in and out and changing boarding facilities and the rest of it, how important is the biosecurity aspect for the horses?
That's going to be huge. We right now we're hearing about a herpes outbreak in a farm in Ontario. There's a stable at one of the barns at Woodbine has a herpes outbreak. So it's out there. Strangles, always rears its ugly head every once in a while. And that's one of the things we're concerned about as veterinarians. That as this equine economy opens up and people start looking at we're seeing an uptick already of pre-purchase exams. Like horses are starting to move again, and we got to protect them. So to add insult to injury, as a stable owner, you're just worried about feeding these horses the last few months. We got to make sure that they're vaccinated properly. We're heading into mosquito season, and so we always worry about the eastern and western encephalitis, the West Nile. We have that in Ontario, so we got to keep these horses protected against it. As horses start to move around more, we got to start thinking about flu rhino. So just like we're living as humans, if we have this unknown disease without a cure, at least with horses, we have vaccines that have really good efficacy that we need to make sure we're doing.
And isolation procedures for horses coming 100%. In.
Yeah. To me, if the lessons we've taken, we're learning, we're experiencing in the human world, we got to apply it more diligently to the horse world, because a lot of the outbreaks we see in Ontario could be minimized. I don't know if you're ever going to eliminate it, but they could be minimized if we had good biosecurity. And I think the rush to run out there and make money, I get it. I think a lot of stable owners are like, oh my gosh, finally we got to do something. I sold a horse, or there's new boarders coming in. I don't want to upset these people by saying, hey, I'm gonna have to put your horse in the far part of the barn there away from others. I think a little bit of client education will go a long way. We're all sensitive to it. We get biosecurity. This is the best opportunity to establish and maintain a good biosecurity system in your own barn, and everybody's going to get it now.
Mm-hmm. Right. So, some really, really important points here. And I think I'll just go back to you're talking about who's on your team and making sure that your team is part of your process, part of your vision forward, part of the whole training program. Many people don't think about who is their team. They think of their grooms or the stable help, and they're not thinking of their accountants, their insurance, the bank manager, that they all have to be part of that team that you're looking at in terms of going forward and thriving.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah.
And I think we look at, if I go to my accountant, they're going to charge me by the hour, but, it's expensive. But their advice is great, and their advice is going to make you money, or it's going to save you money. They'll pay for themselves.
So any other final comments that you'd like to leave our learning community to think about?
I think the biggest thing that we, right now for all of us in the equestrian world, as we're getting ready to open up even more, and as we're looking through the rest of the year, I can't emphasize enough to have, work with your accountant or bookkeeper to get a cash flow projection. Start planning ahead so you can be proactive rather than reactive. Communicate internally. Let your staff know what's going on. Let your customers know what's going on. Let your suppliers, your vendors know what's going on. Just be transparent as possible. Don't try to hide anything. Do what you say you're going to do with the vendors. And if your situation changes, be proactive. Talk to them and just say, you know what? The barns aren't opening up as soon as we thought. It's going to be another couple of weeks before I pay you. Much better than just saying, don't answer your phone. And then the other last thing is really, look at the opportunities at your barn. What can you do to attract more, a different type of client, offer different services? Is your website set up for that? Or do you have an opportunity? Would it make sense to in the local newspaper, or, do Facebook ads or something like that? Really start thinking out of the box, doing the things that you haven't done before. And I think if you're seriously and you really pursue it, you'll be looking back at yourself this time next year and going, wow, I survived this recession pretty well, and I got kind of a new business, and I'm a little bit more diverse. I'm not also dependent on riding lessons, for example. There's other sources of income. So yeah, I'm going to do okay.
Good. Okay. And one of the reasons we're creating a learning community on the horse portal is to get people to think about working together as an industry.
Yes.
And typically we think of each other as competitors. If I own a riding stable and so do you, we're competitors. And yet, if we take a look at models out there for, say, the fast food industry, they are fierce competitors. And yet they have found through working together that they're coming out stronger because they have done group efforts on thriving and surviving coming out of it. So is there a thought that you'd like to share on that for the riding instructors, sort of the rising waters raise all ships philosophy to help all of us as an industry?
I totally agree that there's a reason why in any town all the car dealerships were in one area. There's an advantage to that because it attracts more people. So people will say, I need a car, and they think they may want a Volkswagen, but then they'll try a Ford and they'll try a GM, and also, oh, I like this Honda the best. I'm going to go with that. So there's a symbiotic relationship for everybody being together. I think as riding instructors and as stable owners, we don't look at each other as competition. There is a big enough market out there in Ontario for everyone to do well. There is such an opportunity to bring in new blood to this industry for lessons and new horse owners. The biggest thing I would say is, and I've seen this and I've heard people talk about it in every profession is, well, so-and-so is giving lessons for, $50, just throwing a number out there. I bet if I go in at 45, I'll get more business. You're like, no. Just, you're going to have to work harder to get the same amount of revenue. So instead of like, how do we compete on price? Don't worry what other people are doing. Set your price. And if all of a sudden the price looks like $10 higher than you were doing it, if nobody cares and you're still getting business, great. And be supportive. And if somebody says, I love horses, but your stable is maybe a little further than I was expecting, and coming out here once or twice a week is taking more time. Do you have any recommendations? Absolutely. I can find somebody for you and make the right introduction. I think we've got to work together and support each other, encourage each other's businesses. And I think that's, as an industry, will do so much better. And the other thing is too, the key thing too is, it's an interesting business, is that we have a lot of, I wouldn't say divisions, but, islands. And so you talk to certain, like the standardbred people, they have no idea what the thoroughbred people are doing. The thoroughbred people have no idea what anybody else is doing. And the hunter jumpers don't know what's going on in the Western world. But, that's what's so much fun about the horse business, is that there are a lot of opportunities. And I think this is whether it's into your own business or suggesting other people that might suit the interests of your client a lot more. This is a lot of fun. There's a little bit for everybody. And I think that's the attitude we have to go in there and think about, how do we make the pool of clients bigger to offer what we all know is an exceptional pastime, sport, lifestyle. It gets in your blood, you can't get out of it.
That's right. So, okay. Well, Mike, thank you so much for being a part of this. I really appreciate it. And certainly anyone in our learning community, I encourage them to go back and review the video, because there's tremendous points all the way along that they can jot down and take home and seriously consider in making their business thriving for the future.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, and good luck to everybody.
Thank you.